Okay, let's run.
Your mission, should you choose to accept it.
It's a quest. It's a quest for fun.
Well, The Rock says, why don't we just cut right to the chase?
Okay, now he wants to get together. Well, he wants to talk.
I want you to do me a favor. I want you to tell all your friends about me.
It's showtime, folks!
What are you?
Greetings and salutations. Welcome to And I Quote, the weekly show where we introduce you to creators of all shapes and sizes that join us from any and all corners of the universe. We find out more about them by taking your questions. I am your host, Ryan of And I Quote channel, and our guest on this episode is indie comic book writer and creator of the Toshigawa Universe, as it were. He's the Kevin Feige of this universe. Maybe it'll become cinematic universe one day. Maybe it'll become a television universe one day. I don't know. But maybe he'll answer those questions and then some. Please welcome Martheus Wade to the stage. Martheus, welcome in, sir. How are you?
What's up? What's up? How you doing?
I'm doing quite well, good sir. Thank you so much for being with us. And for those of you joining us, don't forget to like and share this with everyone you know. If you have any questions for Martheus as we go throughout the course of this episode, let us know in those comments. Let us know in the chat. We'd be more than happy to take those as they come in respectively. And if you're watching this live or on the replay, thank you so much for being with us. And it's a national holiday on May the 4th because it's not only Star Wars Day, it's also Free Comic Book Day at your local comic shops, wherever you may be. So if you haven't done so already, please visit your local comic shops. Get yourself some free comics. Treat yourself. You know, get some for the kids, get some for your friends, your neighbors, your coworkers, etc., etc., etc. And let's all celebrate fandoms together as one, shall we? That's going to be a lot of fun, isn't it?
Yeah. I can't wait to get out. After this, I'm going to go hit up the comic book shops around town, see what I can get, and probably spend a little bit too much money, like I always want to do.
Yeah, those things tend to happen sometimes when you go to certain events or certain places. But hey, you only live once, ladies and gentlemen. Got to go big or go home sometimes. But with that being said, and with those pieces of information out of the way, Martheus, when were you introduced to the world of comics?
Man, at a young age, man, I I ended up doing. Excuse me. I always loved like Super Friends, and it was really superpowers back in the day. And I love superpowers, man, and the Secret Wars action figures. So the Marvel side of the superpowers, I used to love that. And I really got into comics by way of the superpowers cartoon. So I used to love that. They didn't have comic book stores, but at the time they had they had the spinner rack. So I went and saw the superpowers. First of all, they had in the back of the action figures, they had the small little comic book, the superpower comic book. And I used to love that. And then I saw the long form floppy versions on the in the spinner racks and at our grocery store, man. And man, I just devoured all those. And from that, I jumped into like the regular comic. But for me, I didn't at the time I didn't know that one was based on it. They were separate continuities. One was based on a toy and one was based on DC Comics proper. I didn't know. I just thought that, it was all the same. It was all the same universe, and everybody was just, having different stories within that universe. So I just jumped from one book to another book to another book, and that was my gateway, and I've been in it ever since. Drawing wise, though, I started, real early, man. I loved being able to. I've always loved to be able to draw and tell stories with the drawings. I've always loved animation. Even at a young age, I've always loved the picture books and stuff like that. My grandmother bought me it was a thick Bible, man, but it was like a kid's Bible, and it was all like comic books. It was just comic book stories. It was huge, right? Because the whole thing was drawn out, and I used to love it. But it's probably blasphemy now because I used to draw all in there. I drew Batman in there with Jesus. You know what I mean? So
was he standing next to Moses?
Yeah, you know what I mean? It was like So but I love that art form, man, and being able to read that, being able to jump into that type of art form. It's always been around me, man. I've always just loved that and just the communication aspect of it. You know what I mean?
For those of us who did attend Sunday school, I do remember getting the illustrated version of the children's Bible, I think it was called.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember having that, or what do you call it? The Bible cases. Anyone remember that from Sunday school?
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
Parents would give us that. Yeah.
Yeah, I had that, man. And I ironically later on in life, I ended up working on the story of David, which is it's the story. It's essentially David and Goliath, man. I did an illustrative part of that with Goliath, which was actually pretty cool, man, with a couple of friends. So that was cool.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is something. That is a timeless story of David versus Goliath. When you feel like you're the small person going up against a big challenge, hey, anything can happen. Anything is possible. Remember that.
Yeah.
With that being said, it kind of segues into our next question. What would you say were some of your favorite TV shows growing up outside of the superpower stuff?
Oh man, dude, I would say my growing up, it had to be G.I. Joe, had to be Voltron. I loved Transformers. Oh my gosh, you know what I mean? I loved He-Man. I ended up, real quick, man, I ended up getting into from like Voltron and like Speed Racer and all that kind of stuff. I started getting into Japanese anime. So like Project Eiko, I love Project Eiko. Stuff like that. I started going kind of in that direction. That's how I found Dragon Ball, and then into Dragon Ball Z. You know what I mean? So those right there, they have inspired me probably a little bit more than traditional comics. That stuff has inspired my artwork the most.
That is some styling and profiling stories, if I ever heard one. For sure. Some things definitely stand out on their own. What would you say were some of your favorite movies to watch growing up?
Movies, it would probably end up being I like the Goonies. You know what I mean?
Hey, you guys. Yeah, come on.
I liked
Come on.
I also liked, but I was weird. Like I had long swaths of time left by myself, right? So I ended up probably watching things I wasn't supposed to. So I watched, The Wraith with Charlie Sheen. I used to love that movie when I was little, right? Probably a little bit too adult. You know what I mean? I shouldn't have been watching it when I was little. But then I watched. I used to love watching. One of the things that I loved watching, probably more so now than I did then, but it did impact me really, really, really huge back then, was Transformers the movie. I love Transformers the movie, but it was scarring as a kid. You know what I mean? So those movies. I loved Star Wars, man. Star Wars. I've been a Star Wars fan for years, man. So the first movie that I went to see, I think it was either E.T. or Empire Strikes Back. I can't remember. I think it was E.T. I think it was E.T. was the first movie I went to see. And then I went to see shortly after that Empire Strikes Back. So I love those two movies, and I love Star Wars. So the Star Wars movie franchise has always been there.
Good picks, man. Good pick, especially that last one, because all things considered,
this is the way.
This is the way. This is the way.
I mean, come on.
Exactly.
Come on. It is. Man, great stuff. And it's funny because, George Lucas, Spielberg are such close friends, and it's crazy that their films were coming out nearly in and around the same time as each other.
Yeah.
And quite frankly, they must have been having a ball with all the money they were making, and then all the audiences enjoying their films, whether it was E.T. the Extraterrestrial, just to be clear, or Empire Strikes Back, or even what came after that, which in this case is Return of the Jedi in 1983. So,
yeah. I sometimes I look back at those times, and like you go back and like I listen to a lot of interviews with like George Lucas, just because I love how how his mind works about his universe. You know what I'm saying? And I've always, you know, it has always struck me that in every interview he said that, you know, when he was making the first Star Wars and even Empire Strikes Back, how stressful it was because he didn't know, especially on the first one, he didn't know if he was going to ever be able to make a movie again, because this movie was so different that, and he wanted to do so many things that were at the time not being done. So he was putting a lot of stuff on the line, and how the stress essentially almost killed him. You know what I mean? And then when they started getting bigger, because he bet on himself for Star Wars, but Empire Strikes Back, when it got bigger, it was kind of one of those things where it was kind of compounded, because now you got even more to lose. And I started to think about that, and you know, I wonder how much, you know, he did really enjoy the you know, like as creatives, we enjoy the creative process, right? But the things around the creative process, the business handlings, the day-to-day stresses of trying to be able to get back to that creative mode, that's the part that's really stressful and hard. So I like to see how he, you know, and hear how he dealt with it. You know what I mean? Because even on my level, it does get pretty stressful sometimes. Just trying to be able to, you know, navigate everything. You know, financial things are always a problem. You know, trying to be able to, you know, just get down to, you know, telling stories, putting stories out there so people can be able to see them, you know.
For sure, for sure. And once again, we are here with Martheus Wade of the Toshigawa Universe on this episode of And I Quote. Don't forget to like and share this with everyone you know. If you have any questions for him, let us know in those comments. Let us know in the chat. And if you're watching this live or what is known as a replay, we thank you so much for being with us. And you brought up some really good points there. What would you say are some of your favorite comic book writers or artists?
I loved, even from a young age, man, I've always loved George Perez. I think that early on, he was the most influential artist on my that I looked, you know, in my vision, that I looked at, that I could look at somebody's stuff and recognize, oh, instantly that's George Perez. You know what I'm saying? I loved just because, you know, the superpowers part of it. I didn't realize at the time that some of those superpowers issues that were in the back of those toys were drawn by Jack Kirby. You know what I mean? So, and that's huge. You like at the time, you don't realize, you're a kid, you don't realize, you know, that this dude is a legend that's drawing this thing that's in the back of this toy. You know, so I loved those, and I loved his work. I liked how everything was just had such a defined inking style to it. You know, I just really loved that. At the time, again, I didn't know what inking was. I just knew that I loved how everything was clearly defined. You know what I mean? You know, as I got older, you know, I loved Jim Lee, his artwork, especially on X-Men, when he was doing the X-Men. And, you know, going into like, you know, Toriyama, I love Toriyama's artwork on Dragon Ball. And I've also loved the artwork on Masamune Shirow, on like Ghost in the Shell and Tank Police, New Dominion Tank Police, man. You know what I mean? So I loved all that type of stuff, man. You know what I'm saying? And when you look at the through line of all that, it was the stuff in there is pretty intricate. It's almost like really animated, you know, and they have animated and cinematic visuals inside of their panels. You know what I mean? All the way from Jack Kirby to Jim Lee, all the way to Akira Toriyama. It's just that through line is this animated type of way, this cinematic view of how they're taking on each one of these panels. You know what I'm saying? And I just love that, man. I love being able to sit down and analyze that stuff.
There you go, man. There you go. Thanks for once again. Thank you for sharing that with us. What would you say are some of your favorite comic book based movies or TV series?
Movies or TV? Movies, man, I would. It's hard to say because there's like a lot of movies, especially nowadays. There's a lot of movies that's out there that are pretty good. But I would say series out of everything. I would say the Matrix trilogy would have the initial Matrix trilogy would have to be my all-time favorite because that's the only one that I can really say that when I sat down and I looked at it, I felt like I was looking at a live action anime, but done really, really, really well. Just cinematically, you could actually pick out, the panels that they could actually use to be put into a book. You know what I'm saying? So I would say that, you know what I mean? I like Superman, with Christopher Reeve, especially Superman 2. I love Superman 2. But I would say, with Superman 2, with the Superman deals, I always felt like that was there was a disconnect between the motion picture and the comic. You know what I mean? It was not like the two were like together. I liked both of them, but they were different. You know what I mean? But with the Matrix, I felt like that was just like a perfect blend at the time, man. And I just love that aspect, Most people don't see the Matrix.
I was gonna say, because I don't remember there being any sequels to the Matrix. I remember that film, but I don't remember any sequels. I don't know what you're talking about, but no, it's fine. Listen, you're probably one of the very few, if any, who would say, "Oh yeah, the Matrix trilogy. That's a great trilogy."
Yeah, I like it. Man. I love the Matrix trilogy, man. But also, at the time I was really deeply into philosophy too. So I mean, it was like that philosophical battle between choice versus free will versus destiny, man. Was I love that whole head battle, that whole mental battle that was going on inside that trilogy of movies. So I'm looking at it in a different light than a lot of people would be looking at it too. So,
you're definitely looking at it in a different light, man. No, it's fine. Listen, hey, to each their own. If you enjoy it, you enjoy it. The Matrix itself just turned 25 earlier this year.
Yeah, I know, man. It makes me feel old, dude.
It's okay. We're all young at heart here. Let's be perfectly honest. And the other thing is, when you get a chance, or the person who may be watching or listening to this episode of And I Quote gets a chance, we did have a 25th anniversary watch along on our channel here at And I Quote. So make sure you check out the Movie Nerds playlist. Go back and watch that episode of Movie Watch Along for The Matrix. We had a lot of great fun, so many great moments to bring up in that film, and some really good lines too. So definitely check it out. It was a lot of fun. Martheus, you should go back and watch that episode. I think you're really going to enjoy that.
Yeah.
Look back on The Matrix.
Yeah.
So what exactly are you going to need? Guns.
Lots of guns.
And then all these racks just show up, right? All these. And then Trinity brings up the iconic line, "No one's ever done anything like this before. That's why it's going to work."
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my gosh, like this is getting real serious. And you got the trench coats and the black outfits and a pair of shades just walking in there, laying the smack down on those security guards. I mean, dang, man, that action sequence is hot.
Yeah, I kind of wonder what would happen nowadays if you just walk around with black shades and a trench coat, like just walk around and see what people would actually say.
That's funny because no, I agree with you, because I was at a convention last weekend where Timothy B. Fling of Earth Dog Studios was present and accounted for, and there were these two individuals who were literally dressed up as Neo and Trinity with the black outfits. And I said, "Dude, you look really good. I'm assuming this is Neo, right?" And he says, "Yeah, I'm dressed as Neo." I'm like, "Dude, where'd you get this trench coat? It's so cool." Because a black trench coat, now, when I think of a black trench coat, the first thing I don't think of isn't necessarily the character of Neo that's featured in The Matrix.
Yeah.
Now, I know that's classic and everything, but when I think of a black trench coat, I'm thinking of Clark Kent as the Blur in Smallville season 9. When he's wearing, a black T-shirt with the S emblem on it.
With the S symbol,
He's literally wearing all black like the Matrix. And I'm thinking, boy, Clark really went dark here in season 9, didn't he? Hey, listen, I still like it, though. I think that outfit for him as the Blur rather than the red-blue Blur, which is what he was in season 8.
The red-blue Blur.
That's what he was known as in season 8, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh my God.
I know it's silly. I know it's
not say Superman, you know what I mean?
Because they can't say it. At least in that show's universe, they can't say it yet.
Yeah.
At least up to that point. If you go back and watch all 10 seasons of Smallville, it's one of the best shows of all time. Streaming currently on Hulu. # not a sponsor of this very program. But once again, we are here with the incredible and super Martheus Wade of the Toshigawa Universe on In I Quote. Don't forget to like and share this to everyone you know. If you have any questions for him, let us know in the comments. Let us know in the chat if you're watching this live or what is known as a replay. Thank you so much for being here. You dropped some really good names there and some good properties. Don't get me wrong. That's why it's going to work. So with that being said, when did you decide to become an indie comic book creator?
Man, I can tell you the exact time, man. I went to Dragon Con, man. It was like I was in college. And me and my friend, my best friend Kevin Williams, man, we were going to Dragon Con for the very first time so that we could pitch our portfolios, right? And I go to the convention, and it's like, it's not the Dragon Con of today, because the Dragon Con of today, it was a lot more of today is a lot more like cosplay oriented. There were costumes and there was a lot of cosplay, but it wasn't so much oriented. This was like really artist heavy, right? Very artist heavy. They had like studios that were there. DC was there. Marvel was there. They had like indie guys. Image had just started, I think, a few years in there. So Jim, was it Jimmy Palmiotti? Joe Quesada. Joe Quesada wasn't even at Marvel, man. Joe Quesada was was working on his indie book called Ash. You know what I mean? So, man, we went there hoping to be able to get jobs, essentially, right? We wanted to show our portfolio, see if we could talk to some editors and stuff like that. So I go up to this dude, right? And he's getting like acupuncture. He's getting acupuncture, right? At his booth, right? And he's got this setup, man, and it's Billy Tucci. And he's got she stuff all up, she banners and stuff up. So I'll go up to him and I'm like, man, would you check out looking at my portfolio? And he was like, yeah, man. So he's turning the pages, but he can't turn his head too much because he's got the needles and stuff in him. So he's turning the pages and stuff. And I had drawn this picture of she. He was like, oh, man, that's a pretty good she. And then he turned the page. And right after that was a page of at the time, it was like the beginning stages of my character, Jeddah, right? So he looked and he was like, whoa, that character is really cool, man. You know what I mean? Who is that? And I was like, oh, that's my character. That's Jeddah. But, I had forgotten to take the piece out because back in the day, what happens is that when you go to a portfolio review, they didn't want you to kind of like put your own stuff in there. People didn't want to see that. They wanted to see like what they knew. So essentially I had like some DC stuff in there. I had Marvel stuff in there. I had Image stuff. And then I had she, because I really liked she, right? So he, but when I forgot that I skipped the page. So his stuff was in there. I mean, my Jeddah stuff was in there. He was like, no, don't change the page. Let's talk about this. So he essentially sat there and broke down how he started his own company, essentially, and how he really wanted to, how he did essentially what I was doing. It wasn't getting him anywhere. And he was like, man, I really want to tell this story. So this is what I want to do. Right. And now I'm going to put the stuff out. So I was like, man, that's cool. Right. So, we talked and stuff for about, it was about 15, 20 minutes. It was a while. So walk around, get home. We're on the bus coming back home. Me and my friend, me and Kevin. And both of us are kind of like, man, we kind of struck out. We're trying to get into the comic book industry as far as showing our portfolio, right? But then I was like, man, I did have this good conversation with Billy Tucci about how he did comics. You know what I mean? And Kevin was like, oh, yeah? And I was like, you know what? Let's just do this stuff on our own, man. And he was like, all right, cool. I'm going to sleep. And he went to sleep. And that was the day that I was like, I'm gonna do this on my own, man. I'm gonna try and do this. I'm gonna go this way for a little bit.
Man, talk about going solo.
I
There for a minute, if you know what I'm saying, because it is a certain day here on the calendar and all, but I digress. Man, that's crazy, but amazing story, incredible stuff, and my goodness, guy's getting acupuncture and he's looking at someone's portfolio. Boy, I never thought I'd hear those two things put together.
Yeah, man, it was crazy. It was a man. That was a crazy convention though, man. And we saw a lot of stuff. We saw a crazy homeless lady. She chased us down the street.
Oh boy.
Like, it was crazy. Like seriously, like that convention, I think they knew really, really early, really on, because now at they're over multiple, it's over multiple conventions, right?
Like 4 hotels now.
Yeah. Then it was just in one spot and it was overrun. Like I'm talking about, like there were people everywhere, man. Like there were some times where you would be going trying to get down the steps, and it would take you 30 minutes just to get from one floor to another floor, just to go down the steps. It was so many people, man. So yeah, man, I mean, I think they knew really early on that they were like, man, we need to do something better because this is going to be really huge, Yeah.
Restructuring.
Yeah.
I think it's the right word to go about. And now Dragon Con nowadays, it occupies like 4 hotels, 4 convention centers, multiple spaces, multiple levels, people everywhere, parties happening every 5 minutes.
Yep.
People losing their money, their clothes, their wallets. Just because of the craziness that ensues late at night from the stories that I've been told about what happens that goes down at Dragon Con. Now, me personally, I've never stepped 1 foot inside Dragon Con Arena, so I can't comment or speculate. I'm just going off of what I've heard from other vendors and attendees of these events. So maybe one of these days I'll get down there in Dragon Con, because I hear their lineups are really good, and also a lot of my friends are tabling down there, so even nice to see some familiar faces, including you, Bobby Nash from BobbyNash.com. My gosh, I'd like to meet you in person one day, brother. He's a great writer. He is. If you haven't heard of him before, if you're into crime fiction or some other subgenres of that, feel free to look him up at www.bobbynash.com. Really nice guy. He actually just started doing he sketches and colors and bookmarks. So
really?
Yeah, he just started doing that all of a sudden. He's got over 400 bookmarks available now, and they're available at his booth when he's tabling at conventions or different events.
Oh, wow.
Or you can get them online. You just have to reach out to him through email or direct messaging, and he will ship them over to you. So make sure
I met him when he came to, I think it was Mid-South Con. Was it Mid-South Con he came?
Did you?
Here?
Yeah.
I think it was Mid-South Con. It might have been somewhere else, though. It might have been another convention.
Could
have been, or it could have been in Atlanta. I can't remember. It was one convention we met in passing because we got a mutual friend named Sean Taylor.
Oh yeah.
Sean was he was actually over the first publisher that I ever worked with Jetta Tells Us Toshigawa. So that it was Shooting Star Press. Yeah.
When I think of Shooting Star Press, I'm thinking of Billy Kidman going up to the top rope and delivering the epic finishing maneuver, which he calls the Shooting Star Press.
Yeah, not. It's not that. It's not that deadly.
Well, it is a risky move to go and do that flip from a top rope and land on your opponent. I'm just saying. As someone who grew up watching pro wrestling back in the day, I knew a lot about Billy Kidman. I watched a lot of his matches. He's a former cruiserweight champion of the world.
Yeah, man.
What a wrestler he was. I wish he would have gotten a bigger push when he was working in the WWE, but unfortunately, that wasn't necessarily the case. A lot of mid-card guys got pushed aside for some teams. Unfortunately, that happens a lot in the business. But Billy Kidman, hope you're doing well, man. If you're still doing Shooting Star Presses at your age, more power to you, man, because I remember you back in the day in WCW. All right? Yeah. He used to be a member of Raven's Flock.
Raven's Flock, man. The Flock was cool, man. I used to love the Flock, man.
Yeah,
with the even flow.
the even flow DDT, as it was known as, from Raven.
Yeah.
You had Raven, you had Kidman, you had Sick Boy, you had Reese, you had Scotty Riggs, you had who else was?
What's the name?
Perry Saturn. Perry Saturn was there. Yeah. That he was the enforcer, actually. Of Raven's Flock. If anyone knows what we're talking about pro wrestlers going back to the 90s. Good gosh, are we dating ourselves? But outside of the classics that are Dragon Con and pro wrestling, ooh yeah. What would you say are some of the biggest rewards about being an indie comic book creator?
I would say the biggest rewards is just being able to you can capitalize on everything essentially, because it's yours to it's still essentially your property. You know what I mean? So I like being able to be the how can I say this? I like being able to be the guy that is responsible for the stories. I like to be able to for real tell the stories, and they are my creative vision. I think that's the most rewarding part of being an indie creator. It's just being able to tell the stories I want to be able to tell, and be able to do things that's outside the box. Like, okay, so recently this week we just had a press conference at some of our local, at one of our local schools. Me and a partner, Mr. Liddell Beeman, he has a company called the Heal the Hood Foundation of Memphis. And, you know, with my company, Mall Productions, what we did was we kind of got together, and we had been working for a while, a couple of months, trying to be able to bring comic book vending machines to schools. So what we did was we actually succeeded. We teamed up with one of our Councilwoman Erica Sugarman, and we were able to put them in three different schools and one laundromat, and we're trying to be able to expand from there. So being able to do things like that is kind of where it's at. You know what I'm saying? Seeing the kids coming up and being able to, you know, for one, it's being able to get kids to read, do well academically, as well as behave as, you know, as well. Because in order to be able to get the tokens that you can get the comic books out with, you have to be able to be academically sound in the school, right? So being able to see the kids come up, put their token in the machine, they make their selection, and the machine like talks to them and drop the comic book down, and they like, oh yeah, you know. Or, you know, we got coloring books in there, we got art books in there too, you know, and being able to feed that need for imagination and creativity inside of the school system, that's cool. And you can't do that if you don't, you know, kind of like have an independent type of a mind. You can't come up and do those type of things and talk to people and be able to maneuver into a position to where your characters and your concepts are actually out there in that type of way. You know, we're very used to, like, today is free comic book day. You know what I mean? You got to go to the comic book store, get free comic books, you know what I mean? Stuff like that. But and that's cool. But a lot of kids didn't have the access to go to free comic book day. Their parents don't understand the idea of the concept of, you know, going to the comic book store, you know. So we're trying to bring those books to kids that don't have access. But at the same time, you can't do that, you know, if you're working on a you are an artist for another company, because you essentially don't control that book. You know what I mean? You don't control those things. You are a hired gun. But being able to own your own thing, being able to own your own concepts and characters, man, it's rewarding. You know, you can, you know, that's where it's at.
Whoops. Well, the fact that I've heard a lot of people talk about this over the years, how they're trying to either get vending machines out there that will distribute, you know, comic books, or they're trying to teach comic books within their classrooms at schools and around the country. I do know of one person who's trying to do that right now, and there's some other people who are trying to do it as well. But the fact that you're able to get these, what are known as vending machines, and they're at 3 different schools and a laundromat, and kids and other people are having the opportunity to have access to those sort of materials. And comic books, you know, life is better when you're reading a book anyway, whether it's a regular book or a comic book. I mean,
Right.
There's only one thing to say to that.
Yes! Hell yeah! Hey, come on, baby! Come on! Yes! Come on! Ah! Yes! Yes!
I mean,
That's the only thing you can say to it, right? I mean,
it's about time.
Yeah.
It took us long enough, right? Now, granted, if we had these things back when I was in school 25 years ago, I mean, I might have gotten to comic books a lot sooner than I did because I didn't get into comic books till years and years later.
Oh, really? Really?
Yeah, I didn't get into the game until 2017 on Batman Day.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah, because I am Batman. Yeah, my friends, they kidnapped me and they took me over to this place. By the way, support your local businesses when you can. Third Eye Comics in Annapolis, Maryland. That's where we were. So they took me over to Third Eye Comics. We walk in there. A person greets me. I believe she was one of the managers there. She says, "Hey, you ever been here before?" No.
Mhm.
You ever read a comic book? No, not really. Like, okay, well, what do you like? What do you like? I said, well, I grew up on things like Batman the Animated Series. I grew up on things like Spider-Man, the 94 animated series. If anybody remembers that. I grew up on X-Men in 1992, which is one of the best theme songs of all time, by the way. And she's like, follow me. So they take me to the back, and there's this nice display, I should say, or a rack, and it says, new comic book readers. And all these trade paperbacks are just sitting there. So I was reading stuff like, what was it called? DC's Kingdom Come by Mark Wade and Alex Ross. You got Flashpoint by Jeff Johns. You got House of M, which is an X-Men storyline. I can't remember who was the creative team on that. I apologize. But House of M was a big deal if you're a fan, or what is it? What is it? Scarlet Witch.
Scarlet Witch. No more mutants.
So, yeah, Scarlet Witch. So those are the things I read, and then I read some Batman stuff because I've been a Batman fan for years, and I became a fan in 2017. So it took me long enough to get to the pate, but I'm here now. Now I got 3 short boxes full of comics and graded comics, son. So get with it.
Yeah,
a lot of fun. And visit your local comic shops too, because you never know what you're going to find back there.
Yeah, especially today. You know what I mean? Today is the day. If you're going to do something, man, go ahead and do it today, because what's there to lose?
And they're having sales too.
Yeah. So today is the day. If you're gonna read any comics, you need to go today.
Agreed. Take your friends and family with you. That's what my friends did with me. So
Yeah.
It's good times all around. I believe is what we're trying to get at here on this episode of And I Quote. And on the flip side of the coin, though, what would you say are some of the biggest challenges about being an indie comic book creator?
Hands down, man, it's got to be distribution. It's just got to be distribution. And I say that just after I said, "Hey, we got vending machines." No, but it's got to be distribution, man. Just because really quick, how comic book distribution works. If you don't know, you got to go to either one of the distribution. Right now, it's only 2 that majorly doing anything. That's Diamond. It could be 3, but it's 2 that's really majorly doing is Lunar, Diamond, and then there is Penguin. But Penguin has their own type of deal. But indie books have been really going through Diamond, so really for us it's been 1. But at the same time, in order to be able to do that, you have to be able to sell to Diamond, then sell to the comic book store, which means the comic book store actually has to want to pick up your book. If the comic book store doesn't want to pick up your book, and they're all independently owned and all that kind of stuff, they don't want to pick up your book, they're not going to do it. A lot of times right now, especially right now, a lot of people are investing their money, stores are investing their money in known properties. You got Transformers, you got G.I. Joe, you got Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And all 3 of those are considered indie, even though, we know different. So when you say indie, those 3 come to mind, and then Image, maybe come to mind. But they also have a certain amount of dollars that's already locked in for Marvel and DC. So they know they're going to get Marvel and DC, which means that you're got this much of a chance of being able to get to woo that store of buying your book. So what ends up happening is that, I'm sorry, I have to get my cord. But what ends up happening is that you end up having a hard time trying to be able to get your books in the stores. So it's definitely distribution. Distribution is the toughest obstacle for independent comics. Distribution, and then followed by just marketing dollars, because people, when they think about this, they think about, oh, I need money to be able to produce your book. Yes, you do, but you also need money to be able to market. And you know, right now, especially now, social media ads, yes, they're free, but in social media content, putting that stuff out is free, but also it doesn't move the needle unless you're paying for it. You have to pay for those views so that, you know, your YouTube show can, or your YouTube ad can actually go without being interrupted. You know what I mean? You got to pay for that sponsorship. It's better to pay for sponsorship on Facebook or Instagram. So that's money you have to put out there. And if you're going to get into the previews book, that goes all to all of the comic book stores that are out there, and you want to have a big splash, well, you got to buy that ad in that previews book so that they can buy your book. So, you know, those two things I think are the biggest obstacles in indie comics. If you can figure those two things out, then you're okay.
It's kind of like a 1-2 punch. You got to spend money if you want to make money. Yeah, but you got to make it to spend it, brother.
Right.
So
right.
It's a 1-2 punch. It's kind of a catch-22, I think, is what I'm trying to say.
Right.
There with that. But what other pieces of advice would you give to aspiring indie comic creators out there?
I would be like, I would tell you to stick to it. If you believe in a story, you know, tell that story, because, you know, honestly, you know, being an indie comic guy or a comic book, you know, producer in itself is difficult, and it is kind of time, you know, consuming. So you have to love the thing that you're doing. Like, if you don't love it, you're going to fall out of it when times get difficult. For instance, if you submit your book to Diamond for distribution and Diamond says no, well, you know, if you don't love your property, you're not going to try and work on a workaround to get around that obstacle, right? You'll just kind of be like, I'm done. You know what I'm saying? I'll do something else, you know? So you kind of, first and foremost, is to love your property. You know, second is just to kind of, you have to be able to stick to it, you know, and just keep going, you know, find an audience. There is an audience out there for you, and be able to find that audience, whether it is online or if it is, you know, at conventions, you know, find your audience and build off of that. And it may take a little bit of time. Sometimes you'd be surprised how fast it could go. If you get in with a certain audience, it just catches on and just keeps going. But you just gotta be able to be willing to put yourself out there to find that audience. So you got to keep going. The third and most important thing, man, read any contracts before you sign with any publishers. All right, indie publishers or otherwise. Read the contracts. Get somebody to be able to read it for you, explain it, somebody that can advocate for you. I can't express that enough, man. We have had our share of dealing with horrible publishers. You know what I'm saying? And that is, you know, before we started being like, okay, we're just gonna do this on our own. You know what I mean? We had to deal with some things that, you know, that you don't want to have to deal with, you know. So I would say those are the three most important things. You know, first, you got to love the project. Second, you got to be able to, you know, work around the problems of the project. And then third, be able to have somebody to come in and advocate for you on a legal perspective. And, you know, you should be good to go, you know, after that. And just know it's not going to be all like, you're not going to get out there and just start making, you know, waves, man, and be like, yeah, I'm out here and I'm hanging out with Kevin Feige. You know what I mean? It's not like that. You know what I mean? It's a lot of work, you know, but you put in what you know, you get out what you put in. If you only put in a little bit of work, you're not going to get anything out of it. You're not going to reap any benefits of it. So.
Goodness gracious, that was a really good pieces of advice there. The more you know.
The rainbow.
I know, right? Yeah, that's going back a ways. I may be dating myself here. I apologize if I'm doing so. But listen, this has been a great episode of what is known as, and I quote here with our guest, Martheus Wade of the Toshigawa Universe. Don't forget to like and share this with everyone you know. If you have any questions for him, let us know in those comments. Let us know in the chat. And if you're watching this live or what is known as a replay, we thank you so much for being with us. I do want to take this opportunity to share something with you who may be watching or listening, and you as well here, Martheus, because I'm not overly familiar with this, so you're going to have to help me out here. So Toshigawa Universe, you got Jeddah, you got Shinobi.
Yeah.
What's Jeddah all about?
Okay, so the Toshigawa Universe essentially is all one big universe. They all kind of take place in the same universe, but mostly at different times. So Jeddah Tales of the Toshigawa and Shinobi Ninja Princess are sister books, essentially. Shinobi Ninja Princess is an all ages book that is deals with Shiandria Toshigawa. She's a ninja prodigy, and her team. So she's 14 years old. Her team is young and stuff like that. And the things that she goes against, she's going against like an opposing ninja clan called the Azumi Ninja Clan. In the Azumi Ninja Clan, they have a pact with Oni, who are some demon, and they are trying to capture Shiandria for her to bring her back to her father, who is the emperor of Japan. It's the future, but it's her father has taken over, so taken over Japan. So they're trying to capture her to take her back. So that's Shinobi Ninja Princess. Jeddah Tales of the Toshigawa is a 20-year-old Shiandria Toshigawa, so it's in the future. And she has moved from Japan to America. So it's about like her trials in America, the kind of almost not really the culture shock, but her getting used to differences in America and still trying to run away from her father and his organization. So it's essentially taking the battle from Shinobi Ninja Princess and moving it from Japan to America, and in that being able to make more of a young adult, high stakes book. So those two books kind of go together, just in the same, just a little bit further along the time frame.
Well, very impressive stuff. Do any black trench coats or black shades or arsenals full of guns make appearances in these stories, or probably not?
No, but there are some really cool ninjas that actually have very Matrix-y like abilities.
Kind of like leaning back, doing the whole bullet time thing. Going,
so
maybe playing maybe the Matrix soundtrack is playing in the back of someone's
head. Yeah. I do. Now I will say this: I'm not going to spoil it, but I do have a Matrix. In the second book, Jeddah Tales of Toshigawa Defiance, I do have a Matrix Easter egg in there. If anybody got the book, they can find it and figure out what that Easter egg is, then I'll most definitely give you a shout out.
Well, that's just badass. These covers look really well done, by the way.
Appreciate it. Thank you, man. The hardcover book up there for Shinobi Ninja Princess was done by my wife.
Oh, wow.
Janet Wade. She did an awesome job. The one with the group shot with Shinobi Ninja Princess Dark Tournament #4, we actually won a literary award for that book in the hardcover. So that was actually really, really cool. We won the best graphic novel award. So that was pretty cool for those as well. So, man, I appreciate it, man. We love these stories, man. We love being able to put them out. I'm excited about the possibilities of all this stuff.
Nice. And I take it the response has been very positive as well.
Yeah. I mean, kids have really been gravitating towards Shinobi Ninja Princess, and they've been liking it. The Jeddah Tales of Toshigawa is actually a relaunch from the very, very first books that I actually did. So I'm going back, redrawing things because I feel like I've improved as an artist. So I'm going back and redrawing things. Actually, this time putting it in color because originally it was black and white. and then adding all the stuff back that I had to take out because I just didn't have the funds to do it. You know, every time you add a page, it costs money. So back in the day, I didn't have the funds to be able to make a thicker graphic novel type of a book like I wanted. So I had to take a whole bunch of stuff out. But now I get to put all those story beats back in. I'm really loving the results, man. Artistically, man, I think this is the best books. These are the best books that I've been able to do in a long, long time.
Rock on, man. Well, congratulations to you and your creative team for putting these out and putting these together. Those covers are really eye-catching, especially with the colors and the shades and whatnot.
Thanks, man.
Fabulous stuff. Have there been any special memories for you from being at conventions, whether you're there as a vendor or there as an attendee?
Man, I mean, I really have made it's a lot more now. I mean, a lot more in the past than now. I was like younger, and conventions didn't take a whole toll out of me when I set up. Nowadays, it takes more of a toll. But man, just being able to be around, I had the luxury to be able to hang around some really cool people back in the day. You know what I mean? From going to my very, very first conventions, you know what I mean, to hanging out at conventions with Mike Norton, who, you know, he does Battle Pug. He's worked for DC. He's worked for Marvel. We went to the same college together. So being able to hang out with him, he introduced me to like Jason Alexander, you know what I mean, and stuff like that. And, you know, his run on comics and stuff like that, and hanging out with them, and, you know, some of the hijinks that we got into, you know, at AtlantaCon, you know, the parties and stuff, and the craziness, you know, that we had there. We, you know, just hanging out with my friend. I met one of my really good friends, Adam Shaw, by, you know, being at a signing with him one day. You know what I mean? He had a book called Bloodstream at Image, and, you know, hanging out with him, and he just out of the blue that same day that we met was like, "Hey man, go to San Diego Comic-Con with me." And I'm just like, "What?" You know, so I went to San Diego Comic-Con with him for the first time, hung out, man. We had so much fun, man, you know, and ever since we had been going after that. We went 5 years after that together, getting booths, you know what I mean, talking to you know, convention goers and stuff like that. A long time ago, before it broke down, man, I was a part of a group called the Memphis Mafia. It was just essentially us just going around from convention to convention. It was a couple of artists and stuff like that going around from convention to convention and just setting up together. You know, that stuff was fun. You know, I think those were the best memories that I could have at a convention. You know, the people that I met, you know, the setting up at the conventions. I still love setting up at the conventions, the actual act of setting up, and the excitement that we used to have about all this stuff, you know, road trips, you know, packing the back of the car, you know what I mean, going to pick up our boys to drive to, you know, this convention. All that stuff was just fun, man. You know, those are the best memories.
Absolutely. Conventions are meant to be fun, and they're meant to be shared with families and friends, if possible. I mean, everyone's schedule is different, but
right.
Yeah, no, that's really cool, man. I dig it. Like I said, one of these days, maybe we'll get down there to Dragon Con in Atlanta, see some familiar faces, a lot of familiar faces table there, actually. Whether it's Bobby Nash of Crime Fiction or Van Allen Plexico of I believe it's White Rocket Books, excuse me. Goodness gracious, those words are hard to say on a Saturday morning. But I digress. Really good stuff. Thank you for sharing that with us once again.
Yeah.
This is and I quote, with our guest of honor, Martheus Wade, on this episode. Don't forget to like and share this, everyone you know. If you have any questions for him, let us know in those comments. And don't forget, if you're watching this live on a replay, we're thankful for you being here. Do not get me wrong. I want to let you know, the person who may be watching or listening to this, and you, Martheus, that this episode of And I Quote and every episode of And I Quote is indeed powered by our good friends at Poddex. Now, Poddex are the hottest new tool for podcasters looking to have more meaningful conversations or simply gamify their podcast. You simply shuffle up, You ask a question and you let the content roll. You can get yours today at poddex.com and use that promo code Ryan10. That's RYAN10. Ryan10 for 10% off your order. Poddex wants to know, would you rather, oh boy, would you rather, this is going to be interesting. Would you rather go 30 days without your phone or your entire life without dessert?
Man, 30 days without the phone, man. That's easy. If me, easy. Man, 30 days without my phone. And the reason why I say that is just because, man, dude, social media can be so toxic nowadays, man. I have to take breaks. I have to take cleansing breaks from social, man. So for me, that's easy, man. 30 days without my phone, man. I'm good. Man, I would be so productive. You talking about being productive, man. After those 30 days, you know, you see so much new artwork coming out.
It's true. It's true. It's absolutely true. Absolutely.
Yeah,
true.
man.
Fair question with a fair answer. No question. No problems there. Which celebrity chef would you most like to make you dinner one day?
Man,
celebrity chef.
Probably would end up to be what's his name? Hell's Kitchen guy.
Oh gosh. Why am I blanking on this person? Not Wolfgang Puck. Gosh. Oh gosh. Gordon Ramsay. That's it.
Gordon Ramsay. Yeah, Gordon Ramsay.
Okay.
Yeah, I would have to say Gordon Ramsay.
Okay. Fair enough. Fair enough.
Yeah. As long as he don't cuss me out, I'm good.
Yeah, don't cuss you out. Don't throw you out of the restaurant. Don't throw you out of the kitchen, wherever it may be.
Right.
Especially if you're there with your loved ones, not just yourself.
Right. You know, man.
You got the missus and the kids there, and they're like, "Daddy, why is this happening?" Well, because he's being a jerk, son. That's why. Could be an interesting conversation to have with one's child. But outside of that, what would be the worst movie sequel ever made?
Man, there's a lot. Worst movie sequel?
Yeah, movie sequel. Yeah, worst movie sequel ever made.
Man, Mortal Kombat Annihilation.
97. I was there in the theater to see that thing.
I was so disappointed. I was there too, man. I was disappointed, man. I loved Mortal Kombat. The first one, man, hands down, man, that was the best choreography, best fight scene. Man, I went to see that second. I was like, man, what is this? Man, yeah, I would have to say that. I was sorely let down. So yeah.
I think there's a reason that film only has a 2% rating on Rotten Tomatoes.
Man, it was bad, man.
You want to talk about bad? That's one of the lowest ratings I've ever seen for a movie on RottenTomatoes.com, not IMDb. IMDb is a separate animal.
Yeah, yeah.
Rotten Tomatoes has it at like 2-3%. And I'm thinking, man, that film really isn't that good, is it?
It's bad.
For me, it's a guilty pleasure. I can still enjoy it. I know it's bad. It doesn't hold a candle to the first. We all know this. Nothing's going to hold a candle to the original. Nothing. Listen, the most recent 2021 reboot that came out during COVID, Mortal Kombat, was a reboot. Yeah. I liked it. I thought it was good. It was fine, but it wasn't anywhere near as good as the original 95.
No, it wasn't.
But they tried. They put together a good effort. They got a good cast, and one of the actors ended up becoming the new detective on Law and Order, the original, the Mothership, Makad Brooks.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, he played Jax in Mortal Kombat, gets his arms chopped off in 5 minutes. Spoiler alert for a 5-year-old movie. But then he ended up being Detective Shaw on Law and Order.
Oh, sweet.
Which is what he's doing now. He's filming those seasons right now in New York City.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, congratulations, Makad Brooks. You landed on your feet, son. You may have lost your arms in Mortal Kombat, but you got them back for Law and Order, didn't you? You know,
you got some mechanical arms at the end.
I know, right? Which is funny because Makad Brooks, before he landed the role in Law and Order, he was Jimmy Olsen in Supergirl.
Yeah, that's where I remember him from. Is he was Supergirl, and then
in Supergirl.
My wife was looking at it, was like, "Hey, I didn't know they had Steve Harvey in Mortal Kombat." I was like, "It's not Steve Harvey, man.
That's Makad Brooks." Wow, the missus thought it was Steve Harvey. Wow. Well, the mustaches look very similar, I suppose.
Looks similar. I had to admit. It does look very similar. So,
but it was Mehcad Brooks, not Steve, not Steve Harvey. Just in case anyone was wondering what we're talking about here. But yeah, the 2021 reboot is okay. But you know, I
Yeah.
hear they're actually in the process of filming the sequel to that.
yeah, they are.
Yeah.
So it did well enough for them to be able to make a sequel. Now it is Warner Brothers, so it may or may not come out.
Yeah, that's well. Let me put it to you this way, and I don't think this is necessarily going to be the case. I don't have any information on this to back me up. If they don't put it in theaters, just put it out on Max so I can watch it.
Yeah,
Because I really want to see the sequel. I liked the first one. It's okay. It's not great, but it's fine.
Yeah.
Plus, one of the young actors who played, I believe it was Luke. Was it Liu Kang or was it Kung
Liu Kang.
Lao? No, it was Liu Kang. Liu Kang was played by Ludi Lin.
Yeah,
Who played Zack, the Black Ranger, in the
Black
2017
Ranger,
Power Rangers movie reboot, which I actually really, by the way, Hollywood, this is where you mess up a lot of the time. Power Rangers 2017 is one of the best reboots of all time. And they were planning on making multiple sequels to that. Now, did we ever get them? No. Because you put the movie in the wrong slot in the middle of March where Logan and Beauty and the Beast were coming out at the exact same time. There wasn't a whole lot of marketing. The budget wasn't that good, but for the movie they gave us, it was fantastic. I mean, they made good on $100 million budget.
It was good, man.
I wanted more, and unfortunately, the studios, the executives decided, well, the movie didn't quite break even for us, so we're just going to not make any more movies. And I'm thinking, you guys are nuts because Power Rangers is one of the most recognizable properties in the world, not just in the U.S. It is huge everywhere.
Yeah,
Europe,
and they set it up. They set it up with a tone that I think could have appealed to both new fans and young fans. You know what I'm saying?
And the older fans who grew up with the original property.
The newer fans, and that's what I meant. The older fans too. I mean, they set it up well to be able to do that. But we never got it. I think that they just kind of dropped the ball on that one.
Huge, which is sad. But now I'm hearing that they're going to put together another reboot.
Of
Power Rangers, and I hear somewhere along the line, I heard they're trying to connect it with Transformers and GI Joe and make it like the shared universe at Paramount or Hasbro. And I'm thinking, why would Power Rangers want anything to do with Transformers and GI Joe? They don't need those properties to succeed. Power Rangers is good on its own. So I don't know why you want to do this whole crossover thing. Now, granted, if you have seen the most recent Transformers movie, Rise of the Beasts. They do hint at a shared universe at the end of the movie, which I'm okay with because those fit within the context of the movie, and they also fit within the context of Hasbro because G.I. Joe and Transformers came on at the exact same time back in the day. So it makes sense, but don't put Power Rangers at Paramount, okay? Like that. And even if you do, let the filmmakers make their own movie. Don't center it around everything else.
Yeah, you don't want to shoehorn that stuff. Don't shoehorn that Super Sentai stuff into the world. You don't need it. Like and GI Joe and Transformers, they did crossover cartoons. They were, Cobra Commander was in an episode of Transformers at one point. You know what I mean?
Really?
It was kind of cool, man.
I should go back and see that.
He wasn't called Cobra Commander. He was called like Snake, but at the end, that he lets everybody know that he was Cobra Commander. The whole movie, he's the whole show. You're just like, man, that dude's Cobra Commander, man. You know what I mean? And then at the end, he takes off his stuff and he's like, Cobra.
Cobra Commander, G.I. Joe, you won't get away with this. It's like oh gosh. I'm sorry, those are cheesy impressions. I apologize. But hey, if you're gonna do a shared universe, let Transformers and G.I. Joe have their fun. Let Power Rangers do their own thing. Let
them do their own thing. Yeah.
Do their own thing. The morphing grid is huge, the story mythology is huge. You got the Zeo crystals, you got the turbo powers, you got 30,000 seasons of show to play with, and multiple characters from multiple universes. Just do your own thing. Do your own thing. But outside of the craziness that's worst movie sequel ever made, which according to Martheus Wade is Mortal Kombat Annihilation.
Yes.
I can enjoy it. It's a guilty pleasure. I can turn my brain off and enjoy it. I got them all on Blu-ray, so it's fine. It works.
Yeah.
Here's another one for you. Would you rather, Poddex wants to know, just to keep everyone here on the game here. Would you rather have unlimited sushi for the rest of your life or unlimited tacos for the rest of your life?
Probably sushi.
Yeah.
I like sushi.
Mm-hmm. More so than tacos.
Yeah.
Okay.
I can have I do love tacos too, man.
Yeah.
The problem is that like I feel like that with unlimited tacos, I would gain more weight than I would with sushi. If that's what it just boils down to. Which one is will I gain more weight with? Let's go the other one. Let's do the other one. Yeah, I like both of them, but I would have to say sushi, man. Because if I just had unlimited tacos, man, I'd be huge, man. I'm already trying to lose weight. I'm trying to lose.
Okay.
Yeah.
I respect that.
I can't be.
There's nothing wrong with having goals, ladies and gentlemen. Nothing wrong with that at all. Well done. Well done. Trying to shed the dad bod. It's okay.
Oh yeah, most definitely.
Yeah. Try to get rid of that stuff. Hey, but then again, on the flip side of the coin, though, not to get too serious here, because we try to keep this as fun as possible. Some people like dad bods. Some people like athletic bods. It depends on who you ask. Which way are we going here, ladies? Just saying. Sorry, I'm speaking out of turn about dating shows that don't exist anymore. But outside of that, what is the weirdest thing that you find attractive within another person? Could be anything.
Probably the way they laugh. If you know, like I'm always a big, you know, I love you know, laughter, man. You know what I'm saying? I like being able to make people laugh. I like being able to enjoy my time with people. You know what I'm saying? I don't like being around people who are serious all the time. So it's one of those things, man. How do you laugh? You know what I mean? Like I love when I was dating, because I'm married now, but when I was dating, I used to really like listening to the dates laugh, man. You know what I mean? And how they laughed, you know, and how, you know, and because I feel like when people are laughing and they're really having fun, that's how you know that they are really comfortable. You know what I mean? And if you can be comfortable around a person, then that means that you can be able to really enjoy your time with that person. So it's, you know, I like laughter. I like being able to hear how the young lady would laugh. You know what I mean?
Well, it is true. What's been said over the years is that laughter is the best medicine.
Yeah. So. Yeah. You know, I believe that too, though. You know, I really do, man. I mean, being on both ends of the spectrums, man, I used to have a really, really high stress job. I used to work in ad agencies and stuff. It was like
wow!
Stressful.
You were one of those madmen like John.
Yeah. Nobody laughed. You know, everybody was like super serious. You know what I mean? Nobody had a sense of humor. You crack a joke, man, and then people just kind of look at you like, "What are you doing? You're supposed to be, you know, very intellectual about what you're doing." And it's just kind of like, yeah, but you know, geez, you know, lighten up just a little bit. You know. Stress a lot. I don't like stress. Stress will kill you. You know, I don't want to do that. Laughter will not kill you unless you're the Joker. Unless you get some Joker gas in your system and you start laughing too much, then yeah, there you go. But you know, other than that, you're good to go.
Luckily, we had our friendly neighborhood. Well, he's not friendly in neighborhood, but you had the Dark Knight come in, swoop in at the end, and take away all the nasty gas in the balloons. And then all of a sudden, you're getting a reaction like, "He stole my balloons."
Yeah.
Why did somebody tell me that he had one of those things? I'm sorry. I watched that movie so many times on VHS, I broke the tape. So,
yeah.
And by the way, that movie turns 35 later this summer. We're going to be doing an episode of Movie Watch Along that is going to celebrate the greatness that is 1989's Batman, directed by Tim Burton. So,
wow. Yeah.
Yeah. You should join us in the chat there, Martheus. I think you would.
Yeah, I might do that, man. Because I like
fun. That'll be in late June of 2024. So.
Oh wow. Okay. Cool. Provided that I'm not at a convention or out of town, because this summer is crazy.
It is going to be crazy, that's for sure. But if you're not out of town, if you have the time to spare, please join us in the month of June for that episode of Movie Watch Along that's going to be doing the celebration of 1989's and Tim Burton's Batman. Best Batmobile, one of the best suits, one of the best actors, one of the best movies of all time. I don't care what anybody says. Does Vicky Vale do a lot of screaming in this movie? Yes, but I can tune that out and enjoy the movie for what it is, because the cast, the production design, the director, Tim Burton, everyone behind it worked very hard to make that movie what it was. So
you're right.
They did. They busted their tail to make that movie happen. Trust me. With gee willikers. Oh boy. With that being said, if my one of my devices over here would stop being so silly and wonky. Let's see. Oh, wait, never mind. Thought I saw a comment there, but I was in the wrong. I want to take this opportunity to say thank you to Martheus Wade for being our guest on this episode of And I Quote. Martheus, this has been fun, amazing, and it's been educational. So if the person watching or listening to this wants to know more about you and where to find copies of your books, where can they find you on social media?
Man, I'm all over social media. To get copies of the books, though, you can go to Toshigawa Universe. .com. That's Toshigawa universe.com. I also teach virtual illustration classes to kids as well. So if you go to outschool.com and you look up the comic studio in the search engine, it'll pop up with me, and you can sign up for one of the days that's up there as well. I'm on social media. You can just look at Toshigawa Universe on Instagram or TikTok or Facebook. And also we have a channel on YouTube. That's Wade's World on YouTube, where it's me, my wife, and my son. We're doing creative stuff. We're playing video games and stuff like that as well. You know, and I'm also doing some small tutorials and talking about my time as a comic book artist and some of the things that I kind of have gone through and stuff like that. And you can find that over on YouTube on I think it's Toshigawa DOT com. So you actually spell out the DOT. So take a look at that and hit it in the search engine, and then see if you see what you come up with, and join us over there, subscribe, and just be a part. But, you know, really want you to be able to pick up one of the books, give it a try. You know, that's a big thing. So, yeah.
Nice, man. Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, no problem, man.
Yeah, thank you for being here. Do greatly appreciate it. I'm going to talk to you again here in just a moment. My name is Ryan of And I Quote channel. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram at RyanRPM5. Make sure you check out all the links to where you can follow Martheus Wade and myself, located in the description down below. So check out those links, follow us, and I think you'll really enjoy our content we got over there. By the way, I want to let you know we've already hit 1,000 subscribers. Thank you to everybody who helped make that possible. Our next goal is 5K, 5,000 subscribers. All you got to do is like, comment, share, subscribe to the channel, ring the bell to be notified of when our videos go up or they go live, and we'll reach our 5K. Once we do, we're going to do some special giveaways. So we got to reach that 5,000. We can do it. The force is strong with this one. Honestly, it's strong with all of us. It's strong with you too. We got a support the show link down below and in our social media pages. So make sure you check that out if you want to support the show. Also, we got some really, really good stuff. It's called merch. We got swag. That's right. We got shirts. We got hoodies. We got other forms of shirts, long sleeve shirts. We got stickers. We got stationery. We got posters. We got pieces of, got throw pillow, a couple throw pillows, a TV news reporter. What do you think? Raphael, what are you doing? Anyway, check that out. Link is in the bio. All kinds of great merch is there for you. It's available and it's on sale right now. If you like going to Comic Cons, which I know Martheus Wade and myself do, our tour has been expanded. We're going to be at Fan Expo Philadelphia on Sunday, May the 5th for Revenge of the 5th. We're also going to be at Thy Geekdom Con May 24th through the 26th in Oaks, Pennsylvania. Stephanie Nadolny of Dragon Ball Z fame, as well as many other DBZ actors and actresses are going to be in the building, including John Young Bosch, who was brought up earlier during the course of this episode. And we're also going to be present and accounted for at Shore Leave 44 in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, specifically on July 26th through the 28th. More dates are going to be announced later on down the line. Follow us on social media for that. Also, if you like movie watch along, we got Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace on May the 4th, which is tonight, 7 p.m. Eastern Time, if you're watching this live. So we got that. And then next weekend, we got the 25th anniversary of Brendan Fraser's The Mummy. That's right. The Mummy turns 25. Can you believe all these great films came out in 1999, Martheus? It is absolutely insane. And also, another film that came out 25 years ago on May the 18th is going to be Entrapment with Sean Connery and Catherine Zeta-Jones. What a great heist film that was. And that came out in 1999, Martheus. The fun facts just keep on coming. Also, if you love sci-fi, you love to read books, check out these books. It's hard sci-fi meets AI intrigue with lunar logic, written by our good friend Adina Mignona of the Big Sci-Fi Podcast. You can find copies of that book, on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Apple Books. You can buy directly from the author. Make sure you're supporting your local authors and the indie authors, indie publishers out there. And if you got family and you got kids and they're really into robots and they like stuff that takes places in galaxies and stars and planets and all that stuff, Saving the Galaxy one glitchy robot at a time is what you need, which in this case is the Robot Galaxy series, books 1 through 4 in one giant set, or you can buy them separately. Once again, written by Adina Mignona, available on Amazon and Barnes & Noble, Kobo, Vivalo. Buy directly from the author wherever you get your books. They are available and on sale right now. So once again, thank you so much for watching or listening to this episode of And I Quote. And remember, don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe, ring that bell to be notified of when our new videos go up or they go live. And remember, the Force will be with you always, and life is better when supporting indie creators of all kinds. Take a look.
Famous Faces and Funnies in Melbourne, Florida is leading the way in pop culture fun. From comic books and graphic novels to Funko Pops and collector's items, Famous Faces and Funnies has it all. Rick Shea and the professional team at Famous Faces and Funnies are friendly and knowledgeable. Whether you're looking for toys, props, collector treasures, or a new comic book, Famous Faces and Funnies is your one-stop shop. To find Famous Faces and Funnies on Facebook and Twitter, just type at FFF Comics. Author Cindy Kep is writing on the edge. Books include Remnant in the Stars, The Loudest Actions, Lines of Succession, Mindstorm, Condemned Courier, the Yerushalayim series, and Animal Eye. Find author Cindy Kep at CKOEPP.com today.
Good morning. Oh, and in case I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.